Right, welcome to the Survival Debrief. I'm Steve Kelly. As you all know, I've done 23 years in the military and commando forces and just retired. And what I specialised in was SEER training, survive, evade, resist, extract. So I teach soldiers how to get out of sticky situations, whether it be desert, jungle, mountain environments. And also, I was lucky enough to take on the UK's version called Naked Alone Racing to Get Home, where I got dropped off for 3 days and had to survive in the mountains of Scotland. Then I also took on Naked and Afraid, not once but twice. I took on the Amazon jungle for 21 days. Then they invited me back, and I was lucky enough to be dropped off in the middle of Africa in Limpopo to take on Naked and Afraid Apocalypse for 35 days. And I'm so happy to announce I've got the absolute legends from the UK's alone, Naomi. How are you, Naomi?
Hi, yeah, I'm really good. It's nice to, merge these two worlds because two very different shows, but we're all very similar and it's nice to come together.
Oh yeah, totally different shows. And one of us is dropped off naked, and the other one's dropped off totally alone and
Yeah.
isolated, not even with a
Yeah.
camera to follow you. And this is what I wanted to speak to you about. Now, obviously, your background. I'd like you to talk about your background because I knew you were a designer. And how did you go from being this fashion designer to being on the one of the most extreme survival challenges on the planet, being dropped off in Canada? Where did that all come about?
Yeah, I think people watch Alone and they assume that was the first thing I'd ever done in survival. I think that's where people have gotten me wrong. I do have a background in fashion, like that is completely true, and I still work in that industry. So I grew up in Pembrokeshire. I was outdoors all the time. I was a Girl Scout, loved being outdoors on farms, did it all, but wanted to change. So I went to uni to study sportswear design, where I focused on science and technology and clothing with an interest in outdoor attire. So instead of just going to the library, I wanted to test my kit myself. So I, at the age of like 19, took my collection to the Sahara Desert where I lived and survived on my own for a few weeks and thought, okay, this is the ultimate test of my clothing. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. Then I wanted to take it to extreme cold, so I went to the Himalayas and tested it on Mount Everest. And this was crazy. You don't often get the designers doing this first-hand research, but I fell in love with it. And I just wanted to be the person I was designing for. So I underwent mountaineering courses, climbing courses, bushcraft, and started working for the Bear Grylls Survival Academy. And it just became everything I wanted to do. And it saved me through my postpartum. It just became an amazing career path that I never thought of. And it just snowballed. And I think the Alone producers found me on Instagram, must have been through the Bear Grylls Academy because there was nothing about my career change online. It was all very private, personal to me. And it was just the perfect fit. It was a show I'd watched for years and I loved this show. And I never, ever thought I'd be on it. I always thought, oh, I'd never say yes to that. That's ridiculous. And I got the interviews and I thought, what is this? They put a fake name on the show and I thought, okay, ignored it for weeks thinking it was fake. Then finally got the call to say, you're in the top 10 and actually it's called Alone. And I thought, my goodness, this is a dream. So I couldn't say no. But just I only had 3 weeks notice. So it was risky because they'd found me online instead of applying myself. I had months less to prepare than the other contestants, which on reflection isn't the fairest way to go about this show, but I would never have said no because it was the best decision I made.
And do you know what, Naomi? That is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Getting contacted through social media or the Bear Grylls Academy from being designing outdoor clothing, going around the Sahara Desert, the Himalayas, Mount Everest, getting a phone call. You can't turn something like that down. That's potentially
No.
not going to do it again. And are they going to do a UK version again? Are they going to do a
That's
C?
the thing, they're not. And in my heart, I thought, oh gosh, it's in 3 weeks. I've got my sister's wedding. Shall I just tell them to call me next year? And I'm glad I didn't because they haven't had the funding or backing to do another season. So I'm really fortunate. I just took one for the team and did it, despite family and friends saying this is ridiculous, don't go ahead with it. I'm really glad I did.
Now, talking about the actual challenge, now kudos for you. The fact you only had 3 weeks to prepare. I've been quite fortunate. I've had 23 years to prepare for stuff like this. This is my role in
Hmm.
the military, and I train in this daily. The fact you had 3 weeks to prepare and you went out there and smashed it. I think you've done 31 or 32 days, 30.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I loved it. It
no,
was, it's not a long time to prepare.
no, it's not. That's what I'm trying to get at. 3 weeks to prepare to try and put on the right
Yeah.
body weight to practice your trapping, your fishing, practicing traps, trying to find the right areas in the UK to bow hunt because you're not allowed to bow hunt anywhere. Practice
No.
one arrow, and the fact that you've went out there for 3 weeks, you're fishing. I'm trying to remember now. You caught a big fish, didn't you? You caught it in one of your.
Yeah, I caught a few fish. So those are the things you want to practice. But the reality was, in that 3 weeks, I had to find cover for work. I had to find childcare. I had to arrange for my family to help with my son. I had to do medical checks. All these different checks you have to do. You had to do a hunting license. I had to, yeah, just life admin took over. You had to buy your gear, source your 10 items. There wasn't, and I had two family weddings in that 3 weeks. So there wasn't time to go out there and practice being in the wild, which I think might have helped me because had I have had too much time, knowing my anxiety, I think I would have pulled out. And I'm quite grateful that I didn't have too much time to prepare. The only thing is putting on weight. I was piling back the ice cream and really trying to put on some weight, but it was tricky.
Now talking about the challenge, so you had 3 weeks to prepare, which is amazing, and I didn't know that, so that's nice to know that in the background of other survivalists how to prepare. Because when I done Apocalypse, I put on 40 pounds. I was the fattest I've ever
Wow.
been. I put on 40 pounds of fat, and I watched episode two's out tonight on Discovery Channel here in the UK. But when I watched episode one last Thursday at 9 o'clock, I couldn't believe how big I was. I was like this balloon jumping out of the back of the truck. Then obviously going
But you
out.
do what you've got to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
most of the other contestants, I think the nine others put on so much weight. Tom, my amazing friend who won, he put on loads of weight and actually didn't lose everything he put on. So it does put them in a place of an advantage for sure. But that's what this show is about. You've got to use the time you've got. And I struggled to put on weight, which isn't a bad problem to have in your day-to-day life. But when you're a survivalist, it's an issue.
Yeah, 100%, because that blubber's going to keep you going, isn't it? Long term and
Yeah.
longevity. Now, where's what I wanted to ask you, right? Now, obviously, viewers might not know or listen who have watched the show who are fans of Alone. But I want to know your thought process. So the moment you get dropped off, the transport goes away, the production's gone, and you're there with your GoPro, what's going through your head?
Oh, it's mad. You hear the word drop shock, and people still to this day don't believe that you are alone. They're convinced there are cameras out there. But no, they really did drop me. They quickly pointed out the very fresh bear tracks and then they buggered off. And it was scary. It was really scary. I was on this island. I was the only one who had an island. And I thought, wow, I'm very much alone. I can't even keep walking. I'm stuck. This is home. And in that initial moment, I thought all these thoughts were going through my head. And I thought, no, just take a second. So I sat down and just breathed and just tried to see the beauty in the land I was on instead of letting all these panicked thoughts enter my brain. And I had to kind of make peace quite quickly with, yeah, this is where I'm sleeping tonight and the next night and as many nights as I can. And that was scary. You almost want to go through the priorities of survival as quick as you could. So I thought, right, get my bear bag up, then get shelter built. But you don't want to rush it either. So I just try to take time to sit and breathe and take it all in.
I don't know how I'd cope, to be honest, totally alone. And that does interest me because when
Yeah.
I was naked and afraid, I done my first challenge when I got dropped off in the Amazon jungle. I was there with my partner, a girl called Sunny from Canada, and we spent 21 days together. The crew are with you from 9 in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon. Then they leave you then 3 in the afternoon, and you've got your GoPros then. So you've always got people around you. They're not allowed to speak to you, though, the crew. I used to think they were ignorant, but they just don't speak to you. They're not allowed to in their
No.
contracts. Then when we were in the Amazon, I was with three of us. When I was in Africa, there was three of us. Obviously, our partners were dropping out, and then it was just me and Wes Harper who made it the full 35 days. But being totally isolated and
Yeah.
left alone, and you've got time to think of your family, think of your kids. I think that'd be tough in itself.
It's scary, and all these things come up, and it's, thoughts and memories that you don't even remember. Like, I remember getting really upset over something that had happened when I was 11, something really small and petty, but clearly I'd been holding it in, and it's because of that time to just dive deep. And I think I'm really lucky to be one of very few people in this world who's had the opportunity to completely be alone because I think especially in today's generations and any younger generations they will never get to know what it's like to be completely alone. You
Yeah.
know, we've got our phones, we've got all these ways to communicate with people. And so you're never truly alone. And that was a really rare moment to understand who I was as a person without any outside influence. And I think it takes at least 2, 3 weeks for you to tap into that. And so I was fortunate I was out there long enough to tap into it. And it wasn't all nice. It was quite scary. You know, you face all these demons that are in there. But I think it's an amazing thing to be able to do.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember watching it, and obviously watching Louis, he's from where I'm from, and
Yeah.
watching all the episodes and what he's all going through. And I already done Naked and Afraid my first time, and I always wondered what it'd be like on alone, where you're totally isolated. And I think you get medics coming every maybe every few
Yeah, so
weeks.
every week we were dropped on a Monday and they said, okay, so a week from today you'll get a medic visit. So I knew in my mind, okay, every Monday, even though you kind of lost track of days. But towards the end, the medic started becoming like this figure of food to me. I was so hungry. I started seeing this like, giant burger or something coming my way, and I'd really tap into them and try and make communication and try and chat to them. They weren't really supposed to talk to us too much, but I'd ask them, "Hey, please tell me what you had for breakfast. Slow down, tell me slowly." And they just sometimes they entertained it, and other times I just think, no, they don't want to talk to me here. Um, but they're just doing their job, and they're there to keep you safe, which is lovely. But I'm also in the back of my mind, they're minimum 40 minutes away if I get to my emergency phone. And the amount of interactions I had with bears, you know, the last thing on my mind is try and find my phone. It's keep myself
Yeah.
safe. So even though they're there to keep you safe, you're very much alone.
Now, talking about bears in your encounters, is there anything that was a scary moment what didn't reach the TV show?
There were moments. I think what surprised me was when I came out, I asked the other contestants, "Hey, like, how did your interactions with these animals go?" And they didn't have any. So there was 11 of us, and yeah, I was the only one that had these close encounters. And we all started off with one trail camera to capture nightlife, and I ended up with 7 or 8. Like, it was a crate. They kept dropping them off because I had so much action in terms of
Mm.
nightlife. And there was one night, I think it was night 21 or 19, it was horrific and they just kept coming back. And I remember it because it was the day I like took so much time to wash my 2 pairs of underwear and I thought I'll hang them up outside my shelter. But I mean, when you've been out there for weeks, those no matter how much you clean them, it was going to bring something in.
Yeah.
And it was just horrific. I remember laying there really thankful that I'd built a bloody good shelter because I look back and watch the season and some of the contributors didn't build a shelter at all. And I think, well, that's bloody lucky because you haven't got these predators. But if I was on, if you were in my spot of land, you wouldn't have lasted 2 minutes because I had so many close calls. And that night, it was just back every half an hour and it was scary. I remember hearing it huffing right next to my face and leaned on the side of my shelter where my bed was. And so I kept whacking it and like making noises with my pot. And fortunately, it buggered off. But it was scary. Really, it got way too close. Within a meter and a half, it was just far too close. And I built a door then the next day.
Absolutely scary, and bears freak me out. When I was in the Amazon, I was lying in my shelter, probably about day 13, and when the crew leave at night, when they leave about 3 o'clock, they set up all night cameras facing you and all
Yeah.
that shelter ready to catch animals. And I don't know if you watched the episode yet, but I was lying there in my bed, I could smell like a wet dog. And I wake up
Yeah.
this morning and I'm going, Sonny, can you smell that? And she's like, something's musky. And then I go quiet again. I'm lying there in my jungle bed we built off the ground. And the side of my shelter started coming into my face.
Yeah.
And I could
Oh,
be shutting in my ears, go, proper sniff.
that's exactly what I went through.
And I start panicking, going, what is it? What is it? Then I lean round, look, and all I seen is massive cat's eyes, obviously the glint from the fire. And I start to panic, and you see me on telly banging a shelter, and it runs off. So I didn't know what it was. The producer comes back the next day, and I say to him, Eric, do us a favour, can you check the cameras and let me know what was on that camera and what sniffed me head last night? And he goes, yeah, no worries. Later on that day, he comes back and goes, right, Steve, we're leaving again now. Make sure you have a big fire. I go, yeah, but what was that? Was sniffing me head? He goes, I can't tell you because I want you to see it on
No.
telly. But make sure you have a big fire going every night. And don't let it go small. And when I watch it 9 months later on telly, it was a massive puma head.
Yeah, they don't show you, and I think that's probably a good thing.
But it actually they showed it on telly. They actually
Yeah,
showed it on
which
telly.
is terrifying that that's the first time you see it, isn't it? And
Yeah,
then because I remember watching mine and seeing this huge bear. And I know black bears are safer than grizzlies, but when you see the
yeah.
size of this thing, and you come from the UK, the worst we have here is what, a fox, you know. That's scary to know, yeah, that was next to my bed, and oh, what could I have done, you know?
Oh, bears absolutely freak me out. But
Yeah.
talking about your challenge as well, Naomi, like I say, you've done absolutely amazing feat. 31 days out in Canada in bear country on your own is absolutely amazing story. But is there any big wins you got? Now, we spoke about it before, but I want you to tell me about your big win. I want to know the in-depth of it, how you're feeling. Let the viewers know we were interested in survival, outdoor stuff. I want to know what you were feeling, what you actually caught.
For my food.
Yeah.
It was mainly fish. So I was hoping to forage more, or to catch rabbits. I didn't take a bow. I think I've got archery experience and I'm okay. My shot's all right. But I think it would be naive of me, someone British, to go out with a bow to, bear country, Northwest Territory of Canada, where I have no experience in stalking or hunting. I think when you get 10 items only, I would rather go with what I know. So trapping and fishing was my method. And I'm a little bit sad I didn't go for a bow because my land was full of these large game. And I think had Louis, for example, been on my land, he would have had a lot more success catching larger game because he didn't have that on his. And he's really good at hunting. But I built a fishing net with a history of like sewing. I thought, great, this is not only going to be amazing for me to do from a mental keeping sane perspective because it took a few days, but it was really nice and it was a nice passive way of hunting, So I caught all this fish and I cooked it, but the amount of bears I had also, they kind of advised me off camera, like, don't be smoking that because you've got so many bears. So instantly I was limited to how long I could make my food last, which is worrying when you're heading into winter. And the berries by this point, with the amount of bears on my land, had all been taken. And so I had no berries. I was really scrimping by and I couldn't trap. I was trying desperately to trap, squirrel or rabbit, but I couldn't find any. And I was trying to follow these trails for days and days, just no luck. And it was quite, yeah, demoralizing. You just start to question your skills. But I thought, no, it's okay. Don't let this defeat you. And actually being that hungry was a really good lesson in realizing how fortunate we are in the world to have all this stuff around us all the time. But as soon as I got out of there, I did definitely binge when I shouldn't have.
I think that's what we all do when we come off these types of challenges. We just keep piling it back on and throwing it all
Yeah.
back into your throat. Now, talking about that, obviously you were hungry and you're starving. How much weight did you lose over your challenge?
A lot, close to 3 stone, and I went in at maybe 9.5 stone. I was small going in, and that was scary. I didn't realize how small I was because it was so cold by the end. You'd change in your sleep. You wouldn't even change, to be honest, by the end. I just embraced the smelliness and you'd change in your sleeping bag, if anything. But that first shower, when I stood in front of a mirror, I just looked like an 11-year-old boy. It was scary to see my body as small as it was. And it didn't take long to put back on. I think matter of 2 weeks, I was heading into Christmas as well. It was quite a nice excuse to stuff your face but you can't tell people what you've done, right? So I went home and I was looking really ill and I had a lot of people coming up to me worried that I'd been unwell or, where have you been? And you can't say anything. So it was quite hard to hide.
Yeah. I know people don't realise that because you sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements,
Yeah,
and you can't explain nothing of what you've been doing. And I remember when I came out of the Amazon, I looked like a prisoner of war convict. I was probably
scary.
my cheeks were in because I was living off nothing. I was living off, I caught one iguana, a big massive iguana on day 17, and I was just living off spiders and crickets. It was
Yeah,
me and my partner were eating nothing. I was like, at the end of it, but it was hard to tell anyone. Only your close family knew you were out there, but you can't
yeah.
tell all these people and let you know what you've been doing because you're in a contract with people. Now, looking back at your challenge, though, Naomi, looking back at it, what's your number one moment you always look back and remember? Like, wow, what a time.
Oh, wow. Okay. I think reaching my son's birthday, which will surprise people, but I went in thinking if I get I didn't have a time frame in my mind. I just took it day by day. Wasn't sure how long I would do. I was happy with whatever I would do, especially with that little preparation. But I knew my son's birthday was day 20. 8, I think. So that in my mind, I thought it got to day 26. I thought, even if I leave now, I can't get home in time to him with all the stuff you have to do afterwards. So when I reached his birthday, as much as it was upsetting to be away from him, it was a moment I really took to just think about everything he's brought to my life and everything I can, you know, him watching this when he's older. It makes me like get emotional now because I just think he's going to be so proud to see this when he's older. And I just spent the day whittling these little toy soldiers. And it was such a peaceful day where I didn't really think about food. I didn't think about too much else, to be honest. I just thought about my boy and like making him these cute little toys. And I think they're the most special gift I'll ever give him because it was so much love and time that went into those. But yeah, I would say that's a highlight. But also, you start off being terrified of the wolves and the bears and the moose on your land. And what I saw, when I came out, I thought, oh, I'm really unfortunate. No one else had these. Why the fuck did I get given these?
Yeah,
Excuse
yeah.
me.
No, you can swear.
Um, and then I kind of look back now and go, no, I was really lucky to have that. Really lucky because not only was it an added challenge that I, outlasted most of the clients and I had this added layer of challenge, but also how grateful I am to have the opportunity to live on this untouched land amongst creatures like this. Like, who gets to do that? That's such a privilege to be able to watch how they watch how they raise their young. I had baby bears and baby deer, and I just thought this is so beautiful to be able to witness it firsthand. And yeah, that's a moment I'll always remember.
Wow, what an experience. I was like that when I was in Africa. I was like maybe 10 feet away, 20 feet away from
Yeah.
elephants, hippos. We had
Oh,
lions probing my shelter. I had a crocodile in my water when I was
oh
fishing.
my gosh.
And when I look back at that stuff, I think, wow, what an experience. Just,
Yeah.
just getting contacted, asking if I want to go and do this challenge. And I'm like, yeah, let's bring it on.
You
Then
just got to say yes.
yeah, these are
You've
once in a
got to.
lifetime opportunities. And
Yeah. And you just become stronger and stronger with each of these. People always say, how could you do? Even my dad is like, I don't think I could do that. Like, we all think that. Like, I didn't think I could do that. But if, you prove yourself wrong and we finally put ourselves in a position to test our strength and our capabilities. And we don't do that in modern day society. This is not what we consider survival today is normal life, hundreds, thousands of years ago. And so it's really nice to tap back into what is very natural in our human ways.
now here's a question for you. You've done an amazing challenge. If you got asked to do it again, would you do it again?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I did partially feel like despite choosing to leave, I felt like my time was almost robbed because of the lack of prep time. They'd hinted on my final med check that I'd lost a lot of weight and they're going to do another check before my next week one, which your only interaction dominated my brain. I thought they're going to pull me out Friday. And I didn't want them writing my ending. And so I made the decision to leave. And I think I would absolutely do it again. As scary as it is, and as hard as it is to be away from family, the positives and the things I've taken away from it will out-trump any of those things. And I just would love that. Oh, yeah, take me back. I would do it again.
Now, here's another question for you. Obviously, you pulled yourself out, and I think when I was watching it, you were missing your boy, weren't you? Missing your son.
Mm.
Do you have any regret to leaving that challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Because had I have stayed 6 more hours, I would have been in a very different position. Had I have stayed 12 more hours or not waited until they did that additional med check, I could have won for all we know. Who knows what could have happened to Tom in that time. But I didn't go in it to win it. And I think that's what I have to remind myself is when I came out, I would have been happy with ninth place. It was never about that for me. It was about what I gained from it. But when you are that close to the win, 30 something hours from the winning position, you do suddenly think, oh, if I'd have just stayed. But I mean, you can't let that destroy you, can you? Because you can't change it. And I think it's really important to just focus on what I did gain from that show, rather than, staying longer.
And I think about that, you've done 31 days. When you work within TV, it's not just 31 days. You're away a couple of weeks before to get there,
Yeah.
and maybe a week after. So
I was there nearly 2 weeks after because of how much weight I lost, and they do psychological re they really take care of you afterwards, which I was really impressed with. They want to make sure you're mentally okay, physically well, and I'm grateful for that. But yeah, when you're out, all you want to do is see your child or your family and friends, and you can't, and that is hard.
Yeah, and you're probably gone for like over 50 days, and people don't
Yeah,
realize
yeah,
that for a 30-day event, 31 days, you're gone for maybe 50, 55
yeah.
days, which is a long, long time. Now, we're coming to the end of this podcast now. Like I said, it's only a short and sweet one, like just getting the nitty gritty. But what I normally finish off in is I asked some advice. Now, you got viewers watching this now who's interested in the show, interested in outdoors, bushcraft survival. What three tips or advice would you give some newbie who wants to get a little backpack on and go and start walking in the local woods today?
I would just say find a spot, go with minimal things. The less you take, the more creative you become, the more capable you are at utilizing the things around you. Second thing, don't over prepare. Don't start reading all these books. Just go out there, do what feels natural and learn as you go. Like you will naturally learn a lot of things. I think it's good to prepare if you're going on a big trip. But hey, I went out to Canada, a country I'd never been to with less than 3 weeks, very little time, and did really well. And I think so, don't over prepare, just go and do it and stay positive. Positive mindset will get you through the worst of scenarios. Staying positive, having positive thoughts, affirmations will really keep you stronger than you ever imagine.
Oh, absolutely spot on, Naomi. They were amazing top tips. I absolutely loved it. And we're coming to the end of our podcast now. And firstly, just want to say thank you very much for taking your time out. I know you're a busy woman. Thank you very much for taking your time out and jumping on here for 20 minutes and saying hello and telling your backstory, which is really, really interesting. And hopefully the viewers and the listeners will enjoy that. But the viewers watching, thank you for tuning in as always. Like I always say, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And where about can any of the viewers follow you if they want to check out your stories or what you do?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely to talk to someone in this world as well. But you can follow me on Instagram. It's Naomi J. Allsworth or The Rambler's Mistress, which is my company. Yeah, get in touch. I'm more than happy to go spend a day in the woods doing skills with you or go on a hike. I am very much a community person, so reach out if you're interested.
Yeah, she's absolutely amazing, loads of knowledge and really worth reaching out to. But honestly, Naomi, thank you very much for your time. And I'll leave you and get out your hair and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Cheers.